Aloha and welcome. My name is Geralyn St Joseph, and I am here with you today to talk about your shadow. I'm going to introduce you to your shadow, what it is, what it does, how it's created, and so on. This is a webinar as a prequel to our class, which is 4 weeks, where you will be dancing with your shadow. And that starts on August 28th and is also via Zoom. So what I'm going to do right now is we're going to share the screen and I'm going to show you my beautiful PowerPoint that I made. Anybody with any suggestions how to do this better, let me know. And there we go. And share. All righty. And hopefully you guys can see that okay. If you have any questions or any comments you want to make as we're going through this portion, please just let me know. Put it in the chat and it'll pop up for me, and then I will be able to read it and answer or add it. Okay. So today we're talking about introducing your shadow. We want to illuminate the forgotten pieces of your soul, the forgotten pieces of who you are. We're exploring the hidden self through archetypes and awareness. Okay. The shadow is based on Jungian theory. So Carl Jung was a contemporary of Freud. They actually worked together. I think he may have studied under Freud for a time, and then he created his own outbranch of this type of therapy and psychology. He says one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Part of his theory was that we have a collective consciousness and then we have our own consciousness. And part of being one with the collective consciousness is that there are different archetypes that we go through at different periods of time. Some will impact us more than others. And these archetypes, they could be light or dark. So it's like flip sides of the same coin. It's what has happened to that piece as you grow and become who you are. What will we learn? We're going to learn what is the shadow, how is it formed, and what are the key shadow archetypes. I chunked it down to 4 because there are 12 and we don't have all day. I could probably do a class on each individual set. So the 12 archetypes, there's, as I said, the light and the dark side of it. So just like when we're doing things like astrology, you have positive aspects and the negative aspects of things. And when we're talking about the negative aspects of things, or like the twisted aspect, it's the same energy, but we're using it in a different way. And I think that is a huge thing that we really need to recognize. Energy itself is neutral. Energy is not positive or negative. It's just neutral. So it's up to us. How are we going to use it? What are we going to do with it that creates what we see as positive and negative? And it all depends on where you're standing, oftentimes. So your shadow is the parts of yourself that either you, or it could be your community, it could be someone in your life, deems wrong. That this is wrong. These are the aspects of yourself that in order to survive and to think that you're thriving, you oftentimes will suppress. What we need to remember is that when you suppress things and you keep pushing them down and pushing them down, they're going to bounce back up. They're going to try to make their way back up. And if we completely ignore them and set them aside, they're going to be acting in the shadows. They're going to be acting in our subconscious and our unconscious and creating dissonance on the surface. It's going to affect us. So here are the archetypes in light and shadow, and I bolded the ones that we're going to be talking about more. And mind you, we're only doing the shadow side of them. So you have the ruler who turns into the tyrant. So a ruler is a good leader. A tyrant is someone who leads by force. The rebel versus the anarchist. You need to rebel sometimes in order for things to change. Rebellion is necessary at times, and that's how you see the world with a different lens if you're a rebel. An anarchist, on the other hand, they just want chaos. They just want to create issues. Um, the lover versus the seducer. So, someone who is a lover is more emotionally engaged. There's someone who is, they're putting something into it, they're not just taking. Whereas a seducer is going to convince you to give them what they want and what they need, and they're not going to be willing to give anything back. They're just in it for the game, they're not in it because it means anything to them. The caregiver versus the martyr. This is a really big one in our society, I believe. And for women, especially, this is a big one. So the caregiver is the one who is there for everybody else. They're the mom of the family when we look at the essential mom. Not everybody has a mother like that, but what we consider maternal is the caregiver, where you're helping people, you're taking care of people. The martyr does it to the point where they're hurting themselves. The martyr does it so they could be like, oh, oh, I just, oh, the martyr is the one who is always doing too much and then blaming everybody else for it instead of having good boundaries. And a lot of these are about boundaries when we look at it. The creator versus the critic. The creator is everything creative that is in you, whether you sew or you knit or you paint or you speak or you write, or you're just creative in the way you think and you help solve problems in a creative way. The critic, the critic is the one who's always telling you what's wrong with everything and why it's wrong and why you're stupid and why you shouldn't do this. That's the critic. The sage is someone who has wisdom, and with wisdom comes the knowledge of what to hold on to, what to be quiet about, versus what are we, um, versus what, just talking for talking's sake or talking because you have to be on top. The know-it-all is the opposite. So I don't know if you guys in high school, you're a sophomore or you say things are sophomoric. And what that means is that's the word for a useful idiot, or a wise idiot. So that's somebody who knows just enough to be dangerous with it, but really doesn't understand the whole picture. And that's what the know-it-all is. The know-it-all just has to talk over people. They will explain what you just said. They may even say it verbatim, but they're better because they're saying it, things like that. The innocent versus the victim. So the innocent is wide-eyed, wants to learn, has curiosity, and wants to see things, and is unsullied. They're someone who's not bruised and battered by life necessarily. They keep themselves light and keep themselves curious. The victim is the one who always has to be the victim, no matter whether they did something wrong or not. No matter what they did, it's your fault. It's somebody else's fault. It's somebody else's problem. It's somebody else's doing. It's never that they are having a problem or that they're instigating something. It's always whatever happens back to them. The explorer versus the wanderer. An explorer has an idea. They're going out and they're searching. They're looking for something. There's a purpose. The wanderer is just kind of wasting time, looking around, not quite sure where they're going, doesn't really have anything in mind, isn't really capturing anything either on the way. So an explorer is going to be learning things. A wanderer is just wandering around senselessly. The hero versus the bully. Yeah, that's the same energy. And a lot of people um, don't realize that. It's both, again, like the ruler and the tyrant, it's leadership energy. The hero is going to support others. The hero is going to be a good role model. They're going to have high morals. The bully is using that energy and that power to subvert other people or to push other people down. The wizard versus the sorcerer. Similar to the sage and the know-it-all. The wizard is someone who uses their power with purpose and they use it for the greater good. The sorcerer is somebody who uses it to manipulate. They're constantly manipulating things. They're manipulating people. They're not doing it for the greater good of anybody but themselves. The jester versus the addict. So the jester is someone who, when they feel the need to escape from things or when they feel overwhelmed, they're going to try to look for the humor in things. They're going to look for what is the silver lining around the rain cloud. They're going to look for whatever is funny about it, whatever they can take out of it that's positive, versus allowing it to become overwhelming and to be overwhelmed by it. The addict will do whatever they can to escape mentally, physically. And when they talk about the addict, you're not just talking about uses of pharmaceuticals or other physical pleasures, but you're also talking about somebody who plays video games all the time, or somebody who just, they will do anything to not look at what it is they need to look at. They're just constantly running away from things. And then we have the everyman versus the saboteur. So the everyman is that archetype is about being part of a community, being the salt of the earth type, someone who's going to stand up, somebody who's going to do what's necessary. The saboteur, what they're doing is they are undermining everything. And usually they undermine themselves worse than they undermine others. But they're always the one, kind of like the critic, who's going to be like, oh, this isn't going to work. This is why it's not going to work. And will actually do things unconsciously to make things not work for them. Okay, yes. All right. How the shadow is created. So for expediency, we're not going to go too much into past lives. And it doesn't matter whether you believe in past lives or not, you still have a shadow. So the shadow is that which is suppressed, as we talked about earlier. Think about for a second. I want you each to take a moment, take a deep breath, and release it slowly. Think about when you were younger, if you have those memories. What were the things that you were told were wrong? Or what were the things that were you too loud? Did you ask too many questions? I know I got that too much. I got that a lot. Were you too bright? Was there someone around you who didn't want you to be so smart? Were you too blunt or too truthful? What were you too much of? What were you doing, or what aspect of you was told to be silent and was pushed to the side? What aspect of you that when you expressed that, you were punished or you were silenced? Hopefully you have one or two of those down. Now, as an adult, do you have impulses that you seem to be constantly suppressing? And if so, what are they? Is it that you go to speak up and then you stop yourself? Is it that you really want to get into something, like get into art maybe, or dig into a book, but you're not allowing yourself to do that because it's just a waste of time and it's silly. I shouldn't do that. I'm an adult, that kind of thing. Who were you as a young child? Do you even remember that person? Like, what were your aspirations? What were the things that you really loved to do? Did you love to draw? Were you really creative? Did you make up stories? Were you a singer? Did you dance? Did you want to be an astronaut or a fire person? Or what did you want to do? What aspects of you do you feel like now as an adult you kind of have disregarded? Things that if you brought back online would make things more fulfilling. So being a singer, say, you could sing in the shower. You could sing on your way to work in the car. by yourself or with other people. You don't have to be in a band. You don't have to do something that's huge and out there, but you need to do something for yourself in order to bring these aspects back online. And shadow archetypes can follow you through lifetimes. But as I said, we're not going to delve into that in this particular webinar. That's something that I'll do later on when I do specifically. We look at past lives, and let me know if you'd be interested in that type of a course or a class. So this is your shadow type discovery quiz. Hopefully you got your pen and your paper and you're ready. Choose the answer that resonates most with how you behave or how you feel in challenging situations. Tally your choices to find your dominant shadow type. So most of us aren't like 100% this or this. You could be, but most people have, well, they're a little bit of this, they're more of this. What we're looking for is your dominant. So what are you wrestling with the most? The other thing you may want to do if you want to get a little bit more deep into it. Now, remind you, we're only doing the 4 at this one. I do have a more extensive quiz online. What you can do is put a 1 and a 2 next to the letters that you're doing. Okay. So here we go. Are you ready? All right. Number 1, when things go wrong, my inner voice says, A, you should have known better. B, why does this always happen to me? C, I just need a little something to take the edge off. D, I'll mess it up anyway. What's the point? This is when things go wrong for you. What is your response? Should have known better. Why does this happen to me? I just need something to take the edge off. Or I'll mess it up anyway. What's the point?
What happens when you're all of them at one time? Oh, man.
You say all of the above. All righty. Number 2. Under pressure, I tend to A, overanalyze and find fault with myself or others. B, shut down and feel helpless. C, seek comfort through distractions or habits. D, delay, sabotage opportunities, or quit early. So when you're under pressure, how do you usually react? Do you overanalyze and find fault? Do you shut down and just feel helpless, like you just can't do this? Do you try to avoid things? Do you seek comfort in distraction? Or do you delay, sabotage opportunities, or quit early? Okay. 3. When I receive praise, I tend to doubt its sincerity and critique myself. B, feel undeserving or think it won't last. C, use it as a temporary high, but it fades quickly. D, downplay it or redirect the attention. So when somebody praises you or gives you a compliment, I find this is a big one for people. Do you doubt its sincerity and then critique yourself on it? Like if somebody says, wow, you're so pretty. And you're like, well, I have this crooked nose and da-da-da, like that kind of thing. Do you feel undeserving and think it won't last? Whatever oh, you're so pretty. Beauty fades. I'm getting old. I'm not that pretty. Use it as a temporary high, but it fades quickly. Wow, you look pretty. Thanks. And then you're looking for the next compliment. Or D, downplay it or redirect the attention. Wow, you look pretty. Oh, you look so pretty. You look awesome. So which one of those 4 do you most see yourself doing? I find it hardest to A, accept imperfection in myself or others. B, advocate for my needs without guilt. C, sit with discomfort or emotional intensity. D, follow through on goals consistently. So I find it hardest to accept imperfection, advocate without guilt, sit with discomfort, or follow through on goals consistently. Consistently is the key word there. If you follow through on goals sometimes, but you can't keep it up, then D's your man. Okay. My default response to feedback is, so this is your knee-jerk reaction when you get feedback. Do you overcorrect and obsess over what went wrong? Why are they telling me that? What do they mean by that? Where is this going? Do you B, take it personally and feel attacked? Can't believe they said that to me. C, tune it out or distract yourself from it. D, ignore it or pretend I don't care. So your default response to feedback, and we're talking about feedback. It's not necessarily, it could be like, hey, I just wanted to show you, you got this and this wrong in this report, or you misspelled this word. Oh no, overcorrect and obsess. Do you take it personally and feel attacked? Do you tune it out or distract yourself from it? Or you just ignore it or pretend that you don't care what they have to say? In conflict, I usually A, intellectualize everything to avoid feeling vulnerable. So you go totally into your head. B, avoid confrontation and retreat emotionally. So even if you couldn't get out of there physically, you emotionally shut down. C, escape through habits or substances. D, provoke or withdraw to derail the situation. So when you're in conflict, do you stick to your head and leave your heart out of it? Do you avoid confrontation and get out of there? If you can't get out of there physically, you retreat emotionally so you don't feel anything, you're blunt. Do you escape through habits or substances? If there's a conflict, do you start drinking or doing anything else? Start playing your video games, start gambling, whatever the thing is that you are drawn towards to do that. Or do you provoke or withdraw to derail the situation? So a conflict, if there's an argument happening or discussion happening, do you then get really mean and say things to make the other person just like stop? Or do you just stop talking or walk away or run away? Like, how do you react to that situation? 7, I often believe A, I'm not perfect, I'm not worthy. B, others have more control than I do. C, relief must come from outside me. D, success will expose me. Do you believe I'm not perfect? I'm not worthy? B, others have more control than I do? C, relief must come from outside myself? Or D, success will expose me? When under stress, I notice A, a loop of critical self-talk. Do you keep like talking to yourself over and over and over again, saying the same things that are not uplifting to you? B, feeling emotionally paralyzed or overwhelmed. C, cravings or compulsive behaviors. That would be like if you're under stress, people who like stress eat, um, cravings or compulsive behaviors. D, avoidance of tasks or sudden resistance. When you're under stress, do you talk nastily to yourself as a critical self talk? Do you feel overwhelmed and like you can't do anything? Do you go into your compulsive behaviors and your cravings, or do you just avoid and you have just a resistance to doing it? Like you really have to battle yourself to get things done. My internal dialogue tends to be, I learned something this week, and it's that not everybody has an internal dialogue. So, not everybody has a mind's eye where they actually see figures. Not everybody has an internal dialogue where there's actual words being said. It could be a flood of emotions. It could be that you have the visual, not the auditory. Whatever this means to you internally, what are you doing to yourself? That's what the question is. So your internal dialogue tends to be analytical and nitpicky, B, emotionally charged and self-pitying, C, distracted and urgent, or D, defeatist and deflective. So the way you talk to yourself, are you A, analytical and nitpicky, B, emotionally charged and self-pitying, C, distracted and urgent, or D, defeatist and deflective? Okay. In group settings, I usually A, compare myself and feel not good enough. B, worry I don't belong. C, seek escape or remain detached. D, shrink back or act out unexpectedly. So when you're with a group, are you comparing yourself to everybody else and you feel like you're not good enough? B, do you worry about whether or not you fit in and how well you fit in or don't fit in? Do you seek escape or feel detached? So do you feel like you're watching the scene instead of actually being a part of it? Or are you like drinking heavily so you don't really have to deal with anybody or yourself or whatever your escape is? Or D, shrink back or act out unexpectedly. So shrink back would be like to be the wallflower, and to act out unexpectedly would be to like just do something off the wall, start a fight, be in an argument, start yelling, whatever you're going to do, just spontaneously misbehave. Okay. 11. My biggest fear is A, being exposed as flawed. Being exposed as flawed. B, being abandoned or rejected. C, losing control or being overwhelmed. D, being responsible for change. So A means you're not perfect and people will recognize that you're not perfect, otherwise known as the just went right out of my head. Uh, imposter syndrome, otherwise known as imposter syndrome. Being abandoned or rejected, that fear of loss. Losing control or being overwhelmed, not having control over the situation or of your emotional self. Being responsible for change. So being responsible for things to be different. or being responsible for something going different, or being responsible for changing yourself, being responsible, period. 12. I wish I could A, silence the constant pressure in my mind. B, feel empowered and supported. C, break free from unhealthy patterns. D, trust myself to finish what I start. So I wish I could silence the constant pressure in my mind. You wish you could feel empowered and supported. You wish you could break free from the unhealthy patterns. You wish you could trust yourself to finish what you start. Okay. And the next one. So there we go. Those were our 12 questions. Now I want you to tally your responses. And actually, I'm going to leave it on the last one before we hit that. And when each of you gets done tallying your responses, if you could put which letter was your highest in the chat, and if you don't want to put it in the chat, if you just put either a thumbs up or say yay or yes or I'm done, whatever you want to put. I would like to see where everybody landed on those 4.
One quick question. Can you show me 1 and 2 questions real quick?
Question 1 and 2.
Yes, ma'am. That's it. Just real quick.
All right.
That's
1.
all.
When things go wrong, my inner voice says, you should have known better. Or B, why does this happen to me? C, I just need something to take the edge off. D, I'll mess it up anyway. So what's the point?
Thank you. Okay. The next one.
All right. And 2 is under pressure, I tend to overanalyze and find fault with myself. I tend to B, shut down and feel helpless. C, seek comfort through distractions or habits. Or D, delay, sabotage opportunities, or quit early.
Awesome. Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Okay.
I'm just wondering, what are we tallying? How are we tallying this?
You're tallying how many A's you have, how many B's, how many C's, how many D's.
Okay.
Yes. And Allie just asked the same question. So I was not specific. So tally up your answers. How many A's do you have? How many B's? How many C's? How many D's?
Do you want the actual count of the highest number, or do you just need to know if it's the highest?
Just know which one's the highest. I mean, it's good for you to have the counts because you might have 2 that are really close, and you can see like, oh, okay, these are the 2 things I need to work on. Okay. And are there any other numbers that anybody wants me to go through?
What if, like, I only really resonated with 4 of them. The
Mhm.
rest, I think I've done so much shadow work that, like, I go, well, I'm grateful for feedback. Like
Yes.
everything. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I only really have 4 that I answered to, and
That's
1 was
okay.
A and 3 were D. I'm like, I actually made me go, yes, you're really kicking butt.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, D would be good. So then D's your outlier.
yeah, but the other ones, I'm like, yeah, I can't answer that way. So I wrote my answer to what I felt about it.
Okay.
And I'm looking, I'm like, you're really positive. Okay. You got this
That's
going.
good. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Tiffany Reed.
Yeah, just a quick question. I mean, several of them, I noticed that, the traits, I may have a strong, for instance, B, but I could see A and C also.
Yes.
So, okay, is that normal?
Yeah, that's normal. Yeah. Because they do, in some respects, they kind of overlap. Different things will overlap. And then the other thing is you usually have like one that might be the front runner, and then you'll have other ones that affect you, but they're not as heavy.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
You're welcome. All right. So if everyone is done, and I noticed we had a newcomer come in the middle of this, so hopefully they are getting to see this and can at least, try to catch up a little bit. Okay, and then this is the last one. Okay. All right. So once you tally your responses, then this is what we're looking at. If you got mostly A's, what you're dealing with is the critic. So you're dominated by self-judgment and perfectionism. It projects criticism onto others as well as yourself. So not only are you difficult on yourself, you can also project that out towards others. B's is the victim, rooted in feelings of powerlessness. You may seek sympathy instead of solutions. Like you want somebody to tell you that you're right rather than tell you how to get out of it, or or have somebody help you out of it. A friend of mine gave me this great quote earlier this week, and she said, "The first time you're the victim, the second time you're the volunteer." So a victim is someone who perpetually puts themselves into these situations because they want to feel like they need help more than they want to feel like they've been helped. And that is definitely back of the brain kind of stuff, as opposed to being something that's proactive. Because being the victim, they found that that's when they got attention. Mostly C's is the addict. The addict uses distractions, substances, or behaviors to avoid discomfort or inner truth. So I think most of us, the addict is pretty self explanatory. But I think in our culture, we look at that and we kind of minimize it. We always look at addicts being substances. And you do think of like as somebody who's a gambling addict. But there's so many different things you could be addicted to. You could be addicted to nachos. You could be addicted to playing with your phone or checking your Facebook every half hour. You could be addicted to somebody giving you positive reinforcement all the time. There's all different kinds of things. It's whatever spikes different hormones in your system, and that helps you to get out of discomfort or redirect yourself. An addict is missing the ability to self-soothe. That's what they're missing, is self-soothe. They're always like, if they were upset about something, instead of mom or dad asking them what was wrong, they'd give them a phone, or they gave them the iPad, or they sat them in front of the TV. Like they never allowed them to really sit with their feelings and express them and talk about what that means, so that they don't really have an understanding of their inner landscape. Then the saboteur. The saboteur is really afraid to be seen. And they could be someone who just has all these amazing qualities and they're really good at so many things, but they will undermine themselves either by not completing things or doing things half done because they're afraid of failure. So they're not really trying, and that's their excuse for failure. They are afraid of responsibility. If I do this really well, I'm going to be asked to do the next thing. And then they expect me to do that really well. It's like the Peter principle. If you guys know what the Peter principle is, Peter principle is that you, in a structure like a business, you will be elevated to the highest level of your mediocrity. So what does that mean? That means you're really good as say you're really good as a cashier. So they're going to move you from a cashier to make you like head of the cashiers. So you're a lead, you're a shift lead. So you're really good at being a shift lead. So then they give you one more. So then you become manager of the cashiers. All right, you're still in the cashier realm. You're doing really well. Well, then they're going to make you assistant manager of the store. Now you're out of your depth. Now you can't. This is too much. You're not able to have all these plates spinning at the same time. And that's where you stop usually, is at the place where you're really not that good at it, but you're not so bad that you're going to get fired, but you're not good enough that you really excel at it. Okay, so those are the ones. All right, and then we're going to go through each of these, but I'm going to pause the I'm going to pause the recording right now. So we're going to have a little chat. Okay. Stop share. There we go. All right. And if everybody would please put their cameras on if you can. And I'm going to put us in gallery. Okay. So let me go into the chat and see. Where do we start? I think Molly was the first one. She was like, yeah, I know what mine is. A's, B's, A, B, C. Okay.
Yeah, I'm coming. It's interesting because I felt like A is a big one, but also a couple of the B's. I mean, there's that's like core
Mm-hmm.
on the questions that I asked that. Like I asterisked those,
Cool.
which is interesting. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, a lot of times this is about discovering things about yourself that you were not really aware of. Hopefully it'll bring out so that you can pull things out and look at it a little more deeply. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that I wouldn't have pegged you for a B either.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I would not. But that's also about, like, we're talking about things that are hidden, things that are not obvious, that are not always seen. So that's where we go. Let's see. All right. Yeah, B and C. Okay. I'm going to leave that up so I can keep watching you guys. Hello, Elizabeth. Welcome. Elizabeth, do you want to unmute for a second? Can you unmute, Elizabeth? There you go.
I'm sorry. I've been struggling here with this.
That's okay. It's all of us. So did you get to look to see what we were talking about to get an idea?
I did. Yeah, get an idea. I wasn't able to. I did get a pen and paper, but I wasn't able to catch all the questions. So I'm hoping that maybe it's will it be recorded? Something I could view after?
Yeah,
Okay.
It'll be recorded. So basically what the quiz is about was I only pulled 4 out of the 12 different archetypes that Jung uses, Carl Jung. And we did the little quiz to see which was our strongest out of those 4. Because I feel like those 4 are pretty big in our society. So where are you calling in from, and how did you get hooked up with this webinar?
I'm calling in from New Jersey, South Jersey.
Okay.
And I learned of the group through Meet.
Okay.
And it's just something that I've had interest in, and kind of don't know where I am in all of it, but I feel, there's something there that I should be pursuing.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So does anybody want to talk about, like, did they get something that they really did not expect? Was there something that popped up where you were like, ooh, I didn't think that was me? Tiffany Reed?
First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for this. I found it incredibly valuable, and I don't think it was a matter of something new, but yet it really put it into a context for me. And I've done enough work to be able to say I could really resonate and say, oh, now that's what that is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and when we went through it, most of mine I had not only one, but I had one very close. So I added up both columns.
Mm-hmm.
And as I looked at it, I have a trifecta in a sense where it's three. And it just was really, I mean, the victim is an interesting one because I must manipulate it in a way where I don't quite look at it, so I get to pull that apart in my own psyche and say,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I am. But when I meditate, I know there's a resonance of victimhood. I
Mm-hmm.
just haven't been able to see how I'm playing it or pushing it through. So that was terrific to be like, I knew it, but with the test, it was great. The addict and then when I got into that second column, the addict was very clear because, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you're always dealing with that. But what was interesting was at the same number. And as I reflected upon just even a period of history with work,
Mm-hmm.
it's this, and I loved your analogy with the work. And that's exactly what happened to me was I went up, I went up, I went up. And then the second I moved into this next category, and I was sabotaging along the way. I was the dream work here. I was amazing here. I kept up. But all of a sudden, my working performance started going down. And I could not understand. So it's the saboteur. And I'm like, oh, and so I get to sit with this now and sort of digest. And what I'm interested is to find out what its angel quality or its opposite is,
Mm-hmm.
so that I can work with its balance. But thank you.
You're welcome. We did look at that. Let's see. All right, we're on number 19. I'm going to go back up and I will show you guys where we had all of them. I will share this so that you can see. Come on. Okay, so the saboteur is the everyman. So the everyman is the person who is, they're more concerned about community. They want to do things for the betterment of everyone. They're salt of the earth. They're the type of person who is the one who builds things up and they hold things together. So that is the everyman and the saboteur. So let's see. Let's stop that. Okay. Yes. Before I never used, I just started using PowerPoint because my friend Jennifer, who is a psychic in Hawaii, she does a lot of classes and stuff. She's like, you got to use PowerPoint. They love it. So I'm like, okay, I'll start using PowerPoint. And it does help, I think, because I know for me, when I'm listening, that's one part of your brain that's working. But when you're reading something and listening, it's really making an impact, much more of an impact, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see here. Okay. All right. So are you guys ready to start recording again? You could all shut off your cameras if you don't want to be seen in the recording. And okay. Where am I? I'm going to put up the okay. All right. So this was the tally. So it was the critic. Oh, you know what I didn't do was restart the oh no, I did restart it because it says okay. Sorry, I'm a little confused. So these were the four: the critic, the victim, the addict, the saboteur. The reason why I chose those four is because I think that they are they encompass a lot, especially a lot of what's happening in society today. Is that we've become very critical of one another and very critical of ourselves, thanks to social media. Also, the victim is a very big archetype, thanks to social media. Also, where people are just they're used to getting that adrenaline rush. The addict, how so many people are addicted to their phones. They're constantly on them. They don't know how to Like even when you go in the movies, sometimes there's people who are playing on their phones. I mean, you just paid $15 to see this movie. What are you doing? And then the saboteur, that is one of the most widespread, I'd say, for the most part, just about anywhere. I see that a lot in clients. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go through each of those 4, and we're going to talk about what needs to happen with them. And so what is the core trait of the critic? The core trait of the critic is perfectionism. They have very harsh self-talk, judgment of others. So they judge others just as hard as they judge themselves. So even though at times the critic can seem like it's more inner focused, in their heads, they're kind of judging everybody else too, because they're like, everybody's got to be perfect. And all of these are on a sliding scale. So you might be a little bit like this, or it could be really something that's affecting you very heavily. The root wound here is the fear of inadequacy, of not being enough. And where that comes from is if, as you were growing up, or maybe even as a young adult, things happened to you where you were shoved aside and you were always told, like, that's not good enough, you're not good enough. A lot of times this happens in the workplace, where you have a boss or a superior who is not giving feedback or only gives emotional feedback. That is not a good leader. It's not a good manager. But I see it happening very often, where they're just looking at like maybe one thing. Maybe they're just looking at the bottom line. They're not looking at all these other things that you bring to the table. And so they're only judging you on that one thing. But as Einstein said, if you judge a fish by the way it can walk on land, it's always going to feel inferior, because that's not what fish do. We need to look at ourselves and judge ourselves in a way that helps us to grow, and also in a way that's more self-loving. And that doesn't mean that we never reach for things to be better, or we never reach for growth. But what it does mean is that when you fall down, you just get back up again. Maybe you learn something from it. I think it was a Thomas Edison, might be Einstein, I'm not sure. One of those guys said, he goes, I did not have 1,000 failures. I found 1,000 ways not to do it. So it's just about changing your perspective and looking at things differently. So how do we heal this core wound, this fear of inadequacy? We have to have compassion for ourselves. And we have to have an understanding that perfection is not what we think it is. So it's embracing our own imperfection. It's our imperfection that makes us different from one another. It's our imperfection that makes us interesting. It's our imperfection that helps us to relate to other people. So if we change the way we're looking at things, then it'll be easier to accept who we are, as opposed to trying to meet up to some unimaginable standard that other people don't even know they have. Okay. So this fear of inadequacy comes from always being put down. It comes from always being told you're not good enough. And it just becomes ingrained when we're little, because we have to constantly try. The other way this can be formed is if you have a parent who has a mental health situation, especially BPD. I am not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I have studied psychology, but I do not have my master's or anything like that. But I know from experience that people who have the kind of relationships, or in relationship with people who have that kind of hair trigger response to things, that they are constantly trying to do better, because you're trying to regulate the other person. And when we're trying to regulate the other person, we're not growing ourselves. And when we have to do that from when we're little in order to survive, it creates this fear of inadequacy, because if you do something wrong, or you didn't do it right, or, whatever, then you might be thrown out, or you might be thrown in the closet, or you might be tied to the bed, or whatever kind of punishment that happens, that as a child, it's so much. And even as an adult, it can be so much. So the critic, if that was your number one, which was A, that's perfectionism, harsh self-talk. I just did my class for self-empowerment. And the number one thing we start with is listening to your self-talk, whatever that looks like, whether that's visual, whether it's just feelings, whether it's actual words. You're sensing that and you're changing it. You're paying attention to it. So when you start being rough on yourself, you can flip the script. Okay. Second is the victim. Powerlessness, blame, blaming others, taking the blame, seeking sympathy. So they want other people to tell them that they're right and, oh, poor you, and that kind of thing. The root wound is feeling unseen and or unsupported. So when you're the victim, what happens is that often comes about because maybe you're part of a big family and everybody else is loud, and then you come into the family and you're not as loud, so then you're always thrown by the wayside. And the only time anybody ever looks at you is if you get hurt, if you're being bullied, if something is happening that makes them turn their attention to you. So feeling unseen and unsupported, when we carry that over to our adult life, that could look like really a lot of stress in work, complaining that people are not doing enough for you, even if they're doing what they're supposed to do, but you don't have the capability to support yourself. So you look for it from outside. So taking responsibility for the way you feel and the way you react to things, that is a huge step in really reclaiming your power and going from victim to hero. You can flip that. The victim is always powerless. They need to be saved. They always need somebody else to do it for them. The hero, I mean, there could be negative aspects to that too, where you're always saving everybody else and you don't let anybody else do anything for you, but that's a whole nother story. You need to reclaim your agency. Just like the little engine that could. I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, and then you can. And taking that emotional responsibility, questioning yourself. What story do you tell yourself about your limitations? How are you owning those? How are you keeping them close to the chest? Are you truly limited, or do you feel like you have limitations? Is it more of a belief, or is it something actual? Is it physical? Like, you can own your limitations and then figure out ways around them. I call them workarounds. So for instance, if I have dyslexia. We'll use that. That's easy. A lot of people have that. So you have dyslexia. So reading is difficult, or can be difficult. So how do you make it easier for yourself, or what do you do to work around it? Some people put everything on tape. Some people do talk to text. Some people have the phone read to them. There are ways to overcome your limitations. So what story are you telling yourself about your limitations? Did I read the one from this one? What does your inner voice sound like? Oh, when does your inner voice sound like someone else's? I'm sorry, I'm jumping back to the critic. So when we talked about the critics, a lot of the voices in your head are not yours. A lot of that negative self-talk comes from the past. It could be your mother, it could be a teacher, it could be a boss, it could be a sibling who always berated you and told you weren't good enough. And you need to be aware of that. What is really you, and what is from outside that you need to just eject and get rid of. Okay, so that was the critic. And then with the victim, what story do you tell yourself about your limitations? I like the saying, fight for your limitations and they shall be yours. If you're going to argue that you can't do something, well, like Henry Ford said, I'm doing a lot of quotes today. Like Henry Ford said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So it's how you feel about yourself and what impetus you have and how much inner resilience you have. Okay. The attic. Avoidance, compulsive behaviors, and numbing. Those are the signs of the attic. The root wound is a fear of facing an inner truth. So there's something that's deep in their core. Usually addicts feel things really, really deeply, and they don't know how to give a name to it. They don't have emotional regulation. They don't know what to do with it. And so they just drown it. And the addict was the kid whose parents just never listened. It's just like, oh, just give him the cookie. He just was, just give him the cookie. I know dinner's on the table, just give him the cookie. Or they just like gave you something to occupy you instead of listening to you or helping you to self-regulate. The addict has no emotional self-regulation. Like they don't know how to do that. And that's something that we all need to learn, but there's a big part of society that never learns it or that learns it the hard way because it was not something that was integrated from when they were younger because their parents either didn't want to be bothered with them or didn't have the patience or whatever the reasoning was, that they don't know what to do with their emotions. They don't know how to be healthy and express them. They don't know how to just write a journal. They don't know how to allow themselves to see things as they really are. So the healing path to this is presence, emotional regulation, and truth telling. When we talk about truth telling, we're talking about being honest with yourself and being honest with those around you, that it's okay to feel that way. Like maybe you're angry about something. Maybe it happened 10 years ago and you're still angry about it because you never expressed it. Well, that's okay. And then you sit present with it. You allow it to bubble up. You give it a name and you give it an outlet. Many times, just by giving these things a name, you help yourself, and it helps to really decrease the anxiety that comes with it and the emotional overload. So the question for the addict is, what do you reach for when discomfort arises? What do you reach for when discomfort arises? So the key with trying to get over this is that you would stop yourself from reaching for it, even if it's just a minute. And then it'll be 5 minutes, and then it'll be a half an hour, and then it'll be an hour. And sit with whatever it is and maybe explore it. Why am I uncomfortable? What is creating this? And what can I do about it? And is there a healthier way to express my discomfort or to alleviate my discomfort that's not running away? And that would be emotional regulation, things like deep breathing, journaling, meditating, things like that would be helpful. So that's the attic. The saboteur. So the saboteur, of course, it's self-sabotage, procrastination, and the big one here is fear of success. Now people look at that, what do you mean fear of success? You would be shocked at the percentage of people in America who have a fear of success. It's a fear of visibility. It's a fear of responsibility. So we'll go with visibility first. So the fear of success and having that visibility is that, well, if I do really well, then people are going to want more from me. If I show that I could do this thing, they're going to want this much. And that they're constantly going to want more and more and more until I have nothing left. So you're afraid that you cannot respond to it. The fear of visibility is that you're afraid to be seen as successful because being successful means you're attacked. It means that you have people who say that, you know, money is the root of all evil. So if money is the root of all evil, then I can't be successful and make a lot of money, because if I do that, then I'm evil, and you know, I don't want to be evil, and I don't want my friends to be mad at me, and so on. So we need to be aware of that when we have this fear. It's also the fear of being rejected or not fitting in anymore, or not being able to fit in when we go up the next rung of the ladder. And that's how it kind of overlaps with some of the others. The healing path is courage. Courage is not having fear. Courage is about feeling the fear, acknowledging it, and moving forward anyway. That's what courage is. Aligned action. So to stay in alignment with your beliefs and your inner calling and inner safety. So if we're constantly afraid of everything that is around us, that doesn't, it's impractical. You can't live like that. It really gives you a very small space to live in. So we need to find safety inside first. We've all heard of inner peace and finding our peace within, being able to go there. So when you feel yourself moving into fear, do your deep breathing exercises. Do that for 5 or 6 really deep breaths and feel your body change. You breathe in deeply, you hold it, and you breathe out very slowly. And you're resetting your body, which kicks up to your mind that you're safe. The other thing I like to do is I will say, I am a child of God and I am safe. I am a child of God and I am safe. I am a child of God and I am safe. When you're doing chants and things like that, you should always do it in 3s. But by saying that, I could feel my body calm down. I could feel the energy rise up in me. So that's a good one to help with your courage. And taking aligned action means don't allow yourself to procrastinate. You're overcoming these things, but you have to be aware of it before you can overcome it. And it's not about just complaining about it. It's about actually taking the steps to move forward. And the question here is, what dream have you delayed and why? What dream have you delayed and why? Thank you. All right, so that's the saboteur. So hopefully that gave you some more insight into whichever ones that you were high on, whichever ones that you had answered the most in the quiz. Okay. So next, we're going to do a shamanic journey to meet an aspect of your shadow. So hopefully you have your water. If not, we're going to take a little 5-minute break so you could get it, because it is so hot in here. I got to put on the air conditioner. And what we're going to do is we're going to bless your water. You could have your favorite crystals with you. It doesn't really matter which ones are there. We're going to call in our protection, and then we're going to go on our journey to meet our shadow. Thank you. Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop the share for a second, and I'm going to pause the recording. But what I'm going to do is we'll put that so that when I look at the recording, I'll be able to note exactly when we're going to start the journey. Mahalo, take 5. Welcome back. And now it's time to meet your shadow. Today, what we're going to focus on is meeting an aspect of your shadow, because the shadow itself can be very intricate. And it is something that I'm doing a fuller class on starting August 28th. It's a 4-session class. And that will be starting on the 28th. But right now, what we're going to do is we are going to go meet our shadow. I'm going to move some stuff from in front of me. Get my handy dandy bell. I love this bell. It's my favorite. So sound can be very cleansing and clarifying. And we have some sound practitioners in the audience, like Tammy. So I love to use sound when we're doing at the beginning and the end of different things that we do, so that it kind of pulls you in and then takes you out. Okay. And you could also use sound to cleanse things. So you could use sound to bless your water, to cleanse your gemstones, all kinds of things. Okay. Take a deep breath. Hold it. And let it out slowly. And again. And one more time. There's a ball of white light above our heads. From it, there are shafts of light that enter us through the tops of our heads and fills us with its energy. Feel this energy as it courses through you, cleansing, balancing, protecting. It fills your head and your throat, into your lungs and your shoulders. It encompasses your torso and your arms. Feel it as it moves down to your navel, into your hips, down your thighs, fills your knees, your calves, and finally out your feet. Feel the energy as it swirls within you, removing all negativity, cleansing, clearing. Feel it as it balances your energies. See yourself as glowing from within, with the energy that is coming from our hands. We hold on to our water or our drink, and we bless it using the name of whatever it is you call the highest deity. I bless this water into the service of my soul and of God, and I program it for my highest and greatest good. Refresh and cleanse. Amen. If you can, give it a little kiss We seal things with a kiss because love is the highest frequency. The ball of white light expands and expands once more until it encompasses you, and it pushes out and encompasses your room and your home. And your transportation. And it is high into the heavens and down into the earth, far to the right, far to the left, in front, behind, and within, a perfect sphere radiating around you. Feel the energy as it lifts you up, caresses you, and clears your space all around you of any and all negativity, and holds the space for us in this endeavor. As we sit here, comfortable, relaxed, we feel ourselves release from our mortar coil. We step into our energy body in this safe space. Our primary guide and guardian is with us to help us in this endeavor. We feel ourselves lift off the ground as we float through our ceiling and into the sky. We see our home below us. We move past the lights and swiftly move past the ground. And we come to a forest. And in this forest, there's a clearing. Gently land. We are in this clearing surrounded by trees, the path behind us. We see before us in the distance a huge, old, wild wisdom tree. As we walk towards it, it seems to get bigger and bigger. We cannot see the top. And as we get to the trunk, we walk around and we see an opening. It's a doorway. We step through the doorway and we find ourselves on wooden steps. We're on a landing. There are steps that go up and there are steps that go down. We go down into the tree and we smell the scent of cedar. It smells clean and fresh. And as we go down the steps, we move deeper and deeper into our subconscious. We go down 1, 2, 3. There's still a ways to go. 4, 5, 6. We can see a faint glow. 7, 8, 9. And we are about to step into a room. 10. We walk forward. There's beautiful furniture. It is warm and cozy. Somehow it is bright. And we see in the corner a shadow. It may be in any form. You may see a hawk or dove, crow or raven, a person, a plant, an animal of any kind. You stand in the center of the room and you face this shadow. And we beckon it forward. We open our arms. And it comes to us warily. And we let it know it's safe. It's safe. This is a place of unconditional love. This is a place of peace. Their shadow moves into our embrace in whatever form it has taken. You hold it gently. And we whisper, "What is your name?" I am you. What aspect? What time? What peace? I am interested to know all that you know. You move towards the furniture and you sit. They sit beside you, touching. I'm your shadow. I'm here because you put me here. And listen or watch as your shadow tells their story. And as they speak, They become illuminated. And you feel the excitement of being seen and heard and felt. And when they're done telling their story, your story, you each exchange a gift. In the exchange, you are complete. The gift is another piece of who you are. A shard of your soul, part of your knowledge, your wisdom. You take the gift, you look at it as they take theirs. You thank them. You get up, as do they. You embrace once more. Your shadow, now illuminated, chooses not to hide in the corner. As you move towards the stairs, you can feel the love all around you, emanating from you and through you, lights up your shadow, and shows you the way. And we go up the stairs. 10, 9, 8. You hesitate for a moment. Take a deep breath. Just wanting to let this energy fully sink in. 7, 6, 5. You see your energy is glowing brighter. You feel so alive. 4, 3, 2. And you step up the last step back onto the landing. 1. You stand in the semi-darkness. You take a deep breath and let it go. You are ready to face the world. You exit the tree back into the clearing. Everything seems more animated now. You see the bright flowers. You smell their luscious scent. You feel the moist earth beneath your feet supporting you. You feel the wind as it kisses your cheek and cools your skin, and you feel the warmth of the sun as it embraces you in a hug of remembrance and healing. You move towards the end of the clearing and you float up, up into the sky. You follow your silver cord back to your body. And we land in our place and step back into our physical being. Take a deep breath and let it go. You feel your hands and your feet, your shoulders, your neck. You feel your weight being supported in your chair or your bed. When you're ready, open your eyes. You're back with me. Kindly let me know in the comments. Say yeah or here or whatever you'd like. And then we will move forward. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Now, since you have pen and paper, jot down anything that you received during that meditation. I want you to jot down anything you saw, heard, or felt, anything that comes to mind now. Just before we move further, I want everybody to put down on paper. And if you want to share in the chat, you may. That's beautiful. That's good, Carol. So we have your shadow asking you to forgive yourself. We have a big, arrogant, greedy, and critical beast. Ho ho. As one of the shadows. Another person had a lion, which is interesting. I believe Leo. So that makes sense. And as you go through these visualizations or these meditations, if you don't get something right away, that's okay. If you just relaxed and listened, that's fine too. Not everyone has a visual field, but the other thing is sometimes things take a little longer to come through, and you may have interesting dreams tonight. And sometimes that's the way it works for some people. There is no wrong way. There is no wrong when it comes to whatever you receive or don't receive, whatever you see or don't see, whatever you hear or don't hear. The energy itself works whether you're actually feeling it or not. Oh, cool. Your second grader was back. Interesting. So, do you guys want to stop the recording right now and discuss this further? If you do, put a 1. Somebody else had a rat too. and they don't like rats. So if you guys want me to stop the recording, let me know. Give me a 1 or say stop or something like that, and then I'll stop the recording. Otherwise, we could just discuss it this way through the chat, or if you guys want to speak and don't mind being recorded. Up to me. Yeah, I got a crow too, or might have been a raven, but I think it was a crow. Don't want to be recorded. Don't mind being recorded. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the recording now, and I'm going to do that so that we can chat.